Hi, perhaps you've seen the new AI was recently released from Autodesk. I saw it too, and honestly it got me quite worried. So will the AI take over the animation industry anytime soon? Let's find out. Today I prepared a few very interesting examples, and I think this is a good opportunity to talk about the difference between AI and traditional tools, like scripts. Today I will show examples with a spline adjustment, a little bit of strafes locomotion, movement on inclined surfaces like stairs, and also, since the script got a new update, I will show what new was added to the script. So here in the Maya 2026, we can go to the Windows animation editors and find the Motion Maker editor. And here we can import a model of our choice. It can be biped character or quadruped character. Let's maybe import some model. So the workflow, as far as I understood, is quite simple. We have this relocator, sort of a main control, and we can animate it, and the motion maker will generate us some animation. Okay, so maybe let's add a few keys to see how it works. We'll start with a simple, let's say, straight line, and after I press this button, it should generate some animation. Okay, let's see. So the character slowly starts, then it walks and stops. Well, the result is obviously not perfect, but it's still, I would say, quite cool that we got some results almost instantly without having to record any mocap data. We just press one button and we get some animation. Yeah, here we can see some sliding. Let's maybe try to do a little bit more complex trajectory. So I prepared this locator, which has some interesting paths. I will constrain this relocator, just apply some simple parent constraint. Okay, now I will break it and delete constraint. So I got some animation like this, and let's try to press generate again. So as a result, we see our character is walking, then it's running. We can see some leans, some movement, and all of it was got very easy, basically in a click of one button. And I think this example is a good illustration of the first point. So you see, like, generative AI is sort of like a black box. So it brings some degree of uncertainty in the result. So here, for example, even though we located the main control precisely, the AI generated some animation which is a little bit different from it. So if you're using generative AI, it will inevitably bring some uncertainty in the results, which you might need to fix manually later. So we can expect some mismatches in character position. We don't exactly control where the character does the walk or the run. If the character does lean, we don't know exactly how much it should lean. And don't get me wrong, this is still quite cool result. I'm just talking about the technicalities. Here, for comparison, in the second scene, I have the character walk animation with the same length and the same time range. So let's maybe try to recreate walk on the same grooved path. For that I can just add few controls to layer, basically set key, maybe add helper rig with 3 segments, maybe visualize the motion trail, enable necessary options like flexible pivot, maybe leans, use distance, and bend the whole path accordingly. Okay, the animation looks like this, and after I run the script, I will get my character walking along this path, and obviously maybe the result is not so cool because we don't have any starts or transitions into run or to the stop animation. But on the other hand, this brings us the precision. We know if we work with a walk cycle, we will get only walk cycle and nothing else. Plus, we have this exact control how flexible the character is, how strong the leans should be, and we will know for sure the character will go along this path and nothing else. So this is the first point which I wanted to show. Basically, the AI generates some, let's say, mockup, which roughly matches your input. Maybe this model will be improved in the future, or maybe you will be able to specify, okay, I want walk animation, no starts or no stops, no transitions into run, and the script provides you ability to change your animation precisely, with exact control over paths, with exact options of lanes and flexibility. So if we decide to stretch the path, maybe like this will create some issues, obviously. So with the scripted approach, we will not generate any run animation. And if we stretch the animation to match this whole path, we'll get the legs overextension issues, kind of like this. So you see here we clearly got issues with the animation. So with the scripted approach, we can fight it a little bit if we use pelvis correction. Pelvis correction is a procedural adjustment of a pelvis, depending on the distance character walks. So if I use pelvis correction, I can load some config. You can find a detailed guide about the pelvis correction and what exactly am I doing here in the Smart Layer tutorials. For now, I will just run the script with the pelvis correction enabled. And we can see that in the problem spots, the pelvis correction moved pelvis down. So we no longer have the issues with legs overextension. Again, the pelvis correction is not super precise, but it can help us a lot in cases with the path elongation or shrinking the path to make the animation look better. And the result is a little bit better now, plus we preserve the original movement, the character walks and does not go into run animation or stop animation. We just keep the walk cycle exactly as it is. We just bend it along the curved trajectory and add in some procedural leans and pelvis correction to match the elongation. Going to more interesting examples. So here I've noticed that this model was trained as a regular orient-based locomotion. So if, let's say, I will try to do something like this, say minus 179, and try to generate. It will basically generate nothing. So it doesn't understand the rotation of the main control, which I think can be a significant limitation. And if you would like to generate, let's say, some strafe movement, so if I move the main control sideways, like this, and press generate, the expected result should be, let's say, the character just goes like this, but the result generation will be a directional start, which also has some applications, but in a lot of situations I would say we need specifically strafe movement sideways, while the character is looking forward. So here with this AI model it is impossible to create such animations. Again, we will talk about the limits of the model a little bit later. I think there are other AIs, like maybe the Cascader AI, which are able to generate strafes, and they understand the rotation of the main control. And with traditional scripts we can also achieve quite interesting results. For example, using the adjustment blending, we can offset our character to put it in a completely different position. So for demonstration I will add IK controls and main to the animation layer, set basically one key in the beginning of the time range, and in the end of the time range I will simply offset my character to the required position, for example here. So now I will apply the script in the offset mode, which is essentially a simple adjustment blending. Just select layer and run the script, and we will see that the character is sort of strafing 45 degrees to the right. So to avoid this ugly look during the animation, maybe we can rotate the main control a little bit. So again, I will delete this animation layer, maybe add some extra rotation to the right, like this. So everything is sliding as usual. Now we run the script again, and we got our character strafing to the right. We can add an additional animation layer to rotate the upper body to look forward. So here I have spine controls. Again, I can add them to the animation layer, set basically one key, add some extra rotation, and the character will be going 45 degrees to the right while maintaining the look forward, which is essentially what we want when we do animation for games. So in similar way, we can create multiple strafes very quickly and easy. Again, here I have a few prearranged locators. For example, 90 degrees to the right. Again, I can just simply match translation of the main control with this locator. Maybe add a little bit of extra rotation, maybe 45 degrees in this case. Again, animation will look like this. Run the script in the offset mode, which is regular adjustment blending. And I got the character strafing to the right side. Again, maybe we can add an additional animation layer with the spine controls. Maybe I can duplicate it to increase its strength. And we got a quite decent strafe, basically in less than 1 minute. So the technique is very simple. Like you saw, you just offset the main control, apply adjustment blending, rotate the spine controls, and basically that's it. Exactly the same you can do the strafe to the left. I can match the main control with a prearranged locator by position, add some extra rotation, 22 degrees for this strafe, run the script, and we got walk to the left side. Again, we can apply an additional layer with the spine controls to rotate the upper body, sort of like this. If you want to make the strafe to the 90 degrees left, everything is the same. Again, move the main control to the required position, add some extra rotation, 45 degrees, run the script in the offset mode, apply animation layer with some extra rotation of the spine controls, maybe duplicate it to increase its strength, and okay, this is almost ready to go strafe to the left. Well, of course, some manual polishing can be applied on top of this animation. I'm just showing the idea, and I think it's clear. So with animation layers and a little bit of adjustment blending, you can also achieve quite interesting results and do it very quickly and easy. And another interesting example can be movement on inclined surfaces, for example, like these stairs. So I have this simple stairs model made from cubes, and let's try to make the character walk on the stairs. So I will simply relocate the main control to put character on top of the stairs, like this, and try to press generate button. So we got some result. The character is walking, but everything is sliding and the steps do not match the stairs. So obviously this model wasn't properly trained to take into account the vertical movement. And if we use the quadruped character, the result will be even more interesting. So I will put the main control on top of the stairs. Again, press generate. And we will see that the character is rotating around its vertical axis. So it doesn't mean any sense. Maybe it was a little bit hard to track the dog during the mocap session, I don't know. Or maybe it's just a math issue. Okay, so I've noticed if we use the biped character and just move it up and then press generate, the result will be similar again, because this model apparently wasn't trained to take into account the vertical movement. So this is another limitation of the model. Well, of course, it can be maybe trained to take into account the vertical movement, but it's probably a lot of work. And what I want to show you is how you can do this movement using the traditional tools. So here I have the same stairs, and again, character walk animation. And if I put the IK controls, main, and maybe pelvis to the animation layer, set basically two keys, put the character in the required position, like this. Then I can simply run the script in the offset mode, and the character will be walking on the stairs. So we can see that animation is a little bit ugly. It's because we have this legs overextension issue, but we can easily deal with it using the pelvis correction. Again, I will disable this layer, enable the pelvis correction. I already have the MetaHuman config loaded, so I will run the script with the pelvis correction enabled to make the character walk on the stairs. Okay, so Still not enough strength of the correction. We can just go to the graph editor, play with the animation curves, and let's play animation again. Okay, so this is quite decent movement on stairs. We have minor issues with the feet. Again, they rotate too much. So I think we can just select the foot, go to the base animation layer, find its animation curves. Okay, here is this rotation curve. We can just select it and maybe decrease the intensity. Do the same for the other foot. Maybe we can also adjust the position of the feet because they're like going through stairs and the steps are not exactly, let's say, sharp. So we can simply bake feet to the locators in the wall space. So we will see their real keys, let's say. Just bake it to the wall space. Okay, I will have these locators. I can add them to the animation layer. Maybe actually limit the timeline to make it easier. So okay, I spent a couple of minutes adjusting the feet. I could spend more, but I think the idea is clear. With a little bit of space fishing and animation layers, the animation can be adjusted. And now I will set the timeline back to the original range, and on these locators, in the graph editor, in this animation layer, I will set keyframes post-infinity cycle. So this should do the trick. And we got our character walking on stairs with no feet sliding, and every step is matching the stairs. So in order to make the steps match the stairs, basically you have to make sure that the steps count is the same as the stairs count, and then it will match the stairs. After this, let's say, polishing is done, I can maybe bake it to layer and delete locators. And also we can play with this animation. Let's say if we have some curved stairs, let's imagine we have some curved stairs like this. I will select IK controls, pelvis and main, add them, let's say, to another animation layer, set basically two keys. In the last frame, I will move and rotate my character, put it in correct position. So everything will be sliding, obviously, and the behavior is quite weird, but after we run the script, in the transformation mode, everything should be fine. And you got this character walking on these curved stairs without any feet sliding. So with such technique you can create multiple animations depending on how curved stairs are, and apply not only vertical movement but also turns to your animation. So we saw that the models, they have limitations. Obviously these limitations can be fixed in the future by creating some additional settings or including some additional datasets in training. So I want you to think about this. So okay, like let's imagine in the future the models will be improved and there will be no issues in the evaluation of some various animations, or somebody will make AI that can do strafes or whatever. But essentially AI can come up with something only what it was training for. So here we have several models, like a biped character, like male or female, and the quadruped character, like this dog. If you work as an animator, you probably know that every walk cycle is quite unique. It depends not only the body type, like would it be male or female, or would it be a fit character or a chubby character, but it also depends on the mood, let's say on the performance. Like the walk can be happy and enthusiastic, or it can be angry and let's say depressed. You probably have seen this video on YouTube with 100 ways to walk. So here it is. You can see that even one character, one body type can perform infinite amount of walk cycles, depending on the style you want to put in this locomotion. And in order to AI to replicate this as generative AI, it would have to include all these data sets for every possible style of motion. And I don't think such a data set simply exists on Earth at this moment, Because unlike with the videos or images, where there are like billions of them in the internet, it's a little bit harder to get mocap to train the AI. So the Autodesk, the Cascadeur, they performed their own mocap sessions, and as a result, we can see that these models from this AI, they can replicate only this one specific style from these mocap sessions they recorded. So my prediction is when this, let's say, universal generative animation AI will be created, again, it will be very generic. It's like, you know, when you download the indie game and you instantly spot that, okay, these assets were bought from a stock, they are not original. And the same will be with animation. So in order to create, let's say, original animation, you will have to do it either by hand or maybe hiring the mocap actor. And if you really think about this, the best AI you could ever hope for in animation is essentially the mocap actor, because you can just tell the actor what to perform and you can just capture this performance. And motion capture these days is a very cheap technology, and again there are cheap mocap suits and there is AI mocap which can simply capture the animation from a video. So I see a lot more potential in this type of AI rather than generative AI based on some specific mocap sessions the corporation took to fight in this marketing battle rather than do a useful tool. Still, this has a lot of potential, especially in creating draft animations, where we don't care much about the quality, but we care about building the prototypes, let's say in game engine. But like I said, you can simply hire an actor, tell the actor what to do, capture the performance, and then you can use traditional scripts to adjust these animations, and you will keep all these micro details in the character performance from an actor. And another moment will be with quadruped characters, because it's probably hard to make, let's say, dog to perform exactly what you want. Usually it's a quite challenging task during the mocap session. You can't just say the dog, okay, now do strafe. So yes, there is still some manual work in this area. And there is also a question what to do with the fictional characters, like creatures. For example, this creature, you cannot possibly record any mocap from it, because it simply doesn't exist. So I believe it can be an issue for AI, as well as the cartoon animation. And with traditional scripts, again, we don't care about the body type. We can apply same adjustments to any character, because it's just mass. We can make it walk on stairs in basically a couple of minutes. So if you're interested how it works, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I can make a separate tutorial about this. And for now, maybe let's switch to the script update to see what features were added to the script. So about the update, the script received a few improvements. Some of them are purely cosmetic. For example, right now the script is supported in the dockable widget mode, so you can attach it to any tab. Would it be, let's say, outliner, or maybe you want to put it in the attribute editor, or attach to any other position. So we can go to the settings and choose the script to be a regular window or the dockable widget. So it will say that, okay, the script needs to be restarted. Next time you start the script, it will be like a regular old window. And if you set it as dockable, again, it will be a dockable widget. Another improvement got the space fishing module. So I received a feedback from one of the users that it's a little bit unclear what these features do. So I've added a tooltips, and now each feature has this little tooltip button with exact description, what it does. You can read it and get precise understanding. So I hope this will be helpful. Another cosmetic change is that the script right now supports the custom settings path. So by default, the script uses the settings from Smart Layout folder, settings JSON. And if you want, you can specify any custom path and put the settings file whenever you want. It is mostly useful for the studios because they can have multiple configs depending on the dimensions in the scene. So you can go to the settings and set the object's locator's size depending on the dimensions of your scene, and you can create multiple profiles of the settings and choose between them here in the settings path. And going to other updates, I think the most important will be space fishing improvements. So some features were improved, like the eye key right now supports ball vector in the wall space. Also, it supports the stretch. If the length of the limb was changed during the animation, right now IK will understand it. Also, overall, the IK right now works better. Recently, I was cleaning some mocap and had a character interacting with the table, with the elbows on the table. So I used this IK to clean up this animation. You can just simply select the clavicle, shoulder and elbow, back it to IK, and you will be able to manipulate the hand to maybe snap this elbow position to one spot to avoid sliding. The copy pose over selected time range got the support of world space or local space. Again, it can be very convenient. When you want to clean up some animation, you can just switch space and just copy pose over time range. Bake animation segment got an additional button. Again, one of the users of the script suggested to add bake source and delete locators button. So right now when you do space switching, it creates these selection sets, one for locators and second for the objects participating in this space switching selection set. So by pressing this button, it will bake these objects and also delete all locators. And also one change of the bake. So right now it has two checkboxes. So by default the script makes a small benchmark of variation time in the scene and picks such settings of the bake to keep it as fast as possible. So if you bake only a few objects, or like 1, 2, 3 objects, it's usually faster to run bake in single thread using the DG evaluation mode. And if you bake a lot of objects, it's usually faster to run simulation to enable the parallel evaluation. But sometimes there was like a bug. On a very rare occasions, this benchmark was incorrect and it picked single thread bake instead of multi-threading, and it was making everything super slow. So this force parallel checkbox, it's like a protection from this issue. If you know you're gonna bake something heavy, like a lot of controls or possibly the whole rig, you can just press this button and the bake will happen in parallel and it will protect you against these kind of issues. So if you have any suggestions or maybe some feedback about the script usage, you can contact me by email and also Discord or maybe Telegram, whatever is more convenient for you. Don't hesitate to write, I always read all messages. I hope this tutorial was useful for you, maybe you learned something new. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And for now, thank you very much for watching and hope to see you next time on the channel.